What's a runoff? All to know about Turkey election results. This is the first time Erdogan faces a second-round runoff vote as a presidential candidate. So, who won Turkey's presidential election? Nobody, yet. After a highly contested first round of elections on Sunday, Turkey is very likely heading towards a runoff vote on May 28 as President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who was hoping to secure a third term, has barely failed to secure the required 50% of votes, despite faring better than predicted. Wait, what's a runoff vote? A runoff vote is a second round of voting that takes place when no candidate receives more than half of the presidential vote. As vote counting entered its final stages on Monday, all indicators pointed to Erdogan being just below the 50% threshold needed to win in the first round. He and his closest competitor, Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, will likely gear up to campaign over the next 2 weeks as Erdogan tries to extend his 2-decade rule, and Kılıçdaroğlu hopes to launch Turkey on a new path with the backing of his 6-party alliance. The final results from Sunday's vote are expected to be announced by 3 p.m., 12 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time, on Monday, Al Jazeera's Farah Al-Zaman Shawki said from Ankara, with votes from abroad yet to be fully counted. Which candidate is leading from Sunday's vote? With 99% of domestic ballot boxes counted, Erdogan had 49.92% of votes, with Kılıçdaroğlu trailing closely with 44.95% of votes, according to the state-run Anadolu News Agency, which gets its numbers from Turkey's Supreme Election Council. Meanwhile, third-place candidate Sana Ogun had 5.2%, a surprisingly high result for many analysts. Opinion polls in the run-up to Sunday's vote had predicted a slight lead for Kılıçdaroğlu, meaning Erdogan has done better than expected. As election night drew to a close, both sides claimed to be ahead in the vote count and quarreled about the presentation of ballot figures. Do the candidates accept a second-round runoff vote? Erdogan said early on Monday that he could still win, adding, however, that he would respect a decision to have a runoff. Kılıçdaroğlu also said he would accept a runoff and pledged to win it. Despite all of his lies and attacks, Erdogan did not receive the desired outcome, said Kılıçdaroğlu. We will absolutely win the second round, and bring democracy, he added. Has Turkey ever had a runoff before? This would be the first runoff vote under Turkey's new electoral system. Turkey transitioned from a parliamentary system to a presidential one in July 2018. The 1989, 1993, 2000 and 2007 presidential elections went to a third round, but both the voting and political systems were different from the ones in place in Turkey now. Presidents in these elections were chosen by parliamentarians, whose position was purely symbolic without any real power. Meanwhile, Erdogan claimed an absolute majority outright in the 2014 elections, when the voting system changed to one where the citizenry elected their president. The third-place candidate has been called a kingmaker. What is that? Ogun has been dubbed kingmaker by analysts because he could play a pivotal role in the outcome of a second round if he endorses one of the other two candidates facing off in the round-off vote. Given how tight the margins are, Ogun's 5.25% would be a huge help to either Erdogan or Kılıçdaroğlu. In an interview with German news site Der Spiegel, Ogun reportedly said he would lend his support to the opposition nations alliance only if the HDP is excluded from the political system, referring to the predominantly pro-Kurdish Socialist People's Democratic Party. In a tweet on Monday, however, Ogun contested saying anything to Der Spiegel that differed from what he had told the Turkish press. Translation: No, Der Spiegel, in the interview I gave you, we didn't say anything different from the general conditions we said to the Turkish press. Where did you make this up? The Ata Alliance candidate will, for sure, be a decision maker, but wouldn't give his endorsement without getting something in return, according to Onur Eram, an analyst at Dragoman Strategies. Ogun will want ministries or vice presidencies in exchange for an endorsement, Eram told Al Jazeera. What are the results of the parliamentary elections? Reporting from Izmir, Al Jazeera's Omar Hud says the governing AK party garnered the most seats in parliament, despite losing a number of seats. Despite that, Erdogan's alliance has still managed to secure a majority in the 600-seat parliament. The number of AK party seats in parliament has decreased from 296 to 266, said Hudge. The Republican People's Party, CHP, won 166 seats, with their alliance, but it did not get these seats alone. This means they only have 135 seats, he added. Anadolu said Erdogan's ruling alliance was hovering around 49.3%, while Kılıçdaroğlu's Nation Alliance had about 35.2% and support for a pro-Kurdish party stood above 10%. How might the candidates fare in a May 28 runoff vote? Analysts predict Erdogan is more likely to win in a second round. Political analyst Ali Kakolu said Erdogan has the momentum behind him, following Sunday's polls. Erdogan maintained his base of support in the heartland of Anatolia, although he lost some support in the southeast. He also maintained some credible level of support in the big cities, as well, Kakolu told Al Jazeera. He was very successful also in the earthquake-hit regions. Some people find it surprising, but he apparently delivered what they expected of him and promises that he will deliver even better in the aftermath of the election, the analyst added. Kakolu said what went wrong for the opposition was that they couldn't get any support from the heartland of Turkey. He added that some of the opposition alliance members, especially the nationalists, did not perform as strongly as they had hoped for. Meanwhile, Al Jazeera's Zina Khoda said there are some members of the opposition who are disappointed with Kılıçdaroğlu and consider him the wrong candidate as he was not able to chip away the conservative votes from the party.